Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Mark, and together with my team members Ben and Magdalena, I'm going to answer today's question. Today's question is: what is the role of the network structure for learning and competition among suppliers? Well, our presentation is divided into three parts. Part one is explained by me. It's about Toyota's knowledge sharing network. Part two is explained by Magdalena and is an extension of my presentation. And part three is done by Ben and is a summary and an answer to today's question. Well, Dyer and Nabioka provide evidence that a network can be more effective than a firm at the generation, transfer, and recombination of knowledge. They also stated that suppliers do learn more quickly after participating in Toyota's network. This inter-organizational learning is important because both executives and academics identified inter-organizational learning as a key factor in achieving competitive advantage. To demonstrate how Toyota's network is built, we're going to look at the following picture. As you can see, there are two phases in this picture. The one on the left side is the initiation phase, and the one on the right side is the mature phase. The mature phase is today's Toyota's network nowadays. Dyer and Nabioka suggest that free institutional innovation have played an important role in the creation of the network and in facilitating inter-organizational learning. The evolution of the network of Toyota comes in phases, from weak ties, phase 1, to strong bilateral ties with Toyota, phase 2, to strong multilateral ties, phase 3. Well, in front of you, you see phase 1, the first step that Toyota took to initiate knowledge sharing in the supply network was to establish the Supplier Association. The Supplier Association facilitated the sharing of explicit knowledge and the creation of weak social ties among suppliers. This was a critical step in getting members of the network to talk to each other in a normal, non-competing setting. Or we go to phase 2. Phase 2, Toyota made its well-trained consultants available free of charge to transfer valuable tested know-how regarding Toyota production systems at the suppliers' facilities. The Toyota consultants were the creators of a norm of reciprocal knowledge sharing and a feeling of liability and openness within the supplier network. Indeed, to receive assistance from Toyota consultants, the supplier had to agree and open up its plans to other Toyota suppliers. This Toyota consulting assistance created much stronger direct ties with suppliers. Well, phase 3, in the last phase, after suppliers had developed social ties and norms of reciprocal knowledge sharing with Toyota, Toyota divided suppliers into small learning groups. Toyota carefully organized the teams to maximize the willingness and ability of suppliers to learn from each other. By doing so, Toyota creates a set of sub-networks within the full network. These sub-networks were designed to facilitate the creation of strong ties among suppliers, which in turn has facilitating the sharing of tacit knowledge among members. Thus, over time, the network has become increasingly interconnected with numerous redundant ties. Well, that was my part. Part 2 is explained by Magdalena.
Elena. Hello everyone, my name is Magdalena and I'll try to explain you the second article from Wilhelm, which is based on the first article from Dyer, and try to extend it. Here on this article, the focus is not just only on the cooperation between the suppliers in the horizontal level, but also the existence of the competition between the suppliers. As we already know, what differs the vertical alliances from the horizontal alliances is the power asymmetry between the buyer and suppliers. We know that the buyers have much more power over the suppliers, and that's why the buyer should take an active action and try to manage the cooperation and competition tension between the suppliers in the horizontal level. And here we can see the different ties between the suppliers, and the most common one, which is the competitive ties, which means that the supplier A and supplier B produce exactly the same product and they're fighting for the order of the customer. The second one is cooperative ties, which means that the competition between the suppliers overcome the cooperation between them. And the third one is cooperative, which means that the cooperation overcome the competition between the suppliers, which is actually really rare tie. And sometimes there's no ties between the suppliers, just like the supplier D and the supplier E, and there's just a dyadic buyer-supplier relation. As we already know from the first article, there are three different management practices, and the first one is in the Toyota, and the first one is the supplier association. And on this phase, suppliers have some opportunity to overcome the anonymity on the market competition, and also it enhances the face-to-face rivalry. And in this way, it appears the latent competitive tension between the suppliers. On the second phase, which is the supplier consultancy, it appears the second order transparency, which is actually enhance the rivals' mutual awareness and gives an opportunity, for example, for the car makers to use the insight about the performance for competitive benchmarking. And the third one, it's a learning group, and on this phase, the suppliers have an opportunity to see the other supplier's strength and weaknesses, and also in this way they create the tension and competition between the suppliers. And now Ben will sum up the two articles and gives an answer of the main question.
Hello, I am Ben and I will summarize the previous information and answer today's question. What is the role of the network structure for learning and competition among suppliers? The role of the network structure for learning in Toyota's network is explained by Dyer and Nobioka. They show that the relations between suppliers are important for inter-organizational learning, and that the management of knowledge sharing in supplier-supplier relations can be a competitive advantage for all players in the network. This is the link between the article of Dyer and Nobioka to the article of Wilhelm. As you can see, the cooperative ties explained in the first article are only a small part in the conceptual model of the second article. Wilhelm adds that the role of the network structure does not only have an effect on learning, but also on competition among suppliers. As you can see in the exploratory unit of this conceptual model, supplier-supplier relations are not only cooperative, supplier-supplier relations can also enhance the competitive forces between suppliers, resulting in cooperative ties. The coexistence of cooperative and competitive forces make the network structure as a whole more effective. Concluding, being competitive requires collaborative action that is cooperate to compete. Collaboration in learning groups promotes the highest level of transparency and further intensifies competition among suppliers. This creates an overall competitiveness on the strategic network level. For example, due to improving its supplier network efficiency, Toyota has managed to reduce its purchasing costs by 30% over a 5 years time span. Well, that was our presentation of the two articles. I hope it was clear, and see you next time.